Alright, boys. It's time to talk about splits. So, here's the deal. Let's first, before talking about this, establish the core values of Monkish, right? Because what's really important to us? It's important to us that, we were really founded on the premise of being a 2-day guild, right? And not asking too much of people. It's just seeing how far the power of raw gaming energy can take us without having to get too, lost in the sauce. All we ask of our raiders is consistent attendance, keeping your character prepared, knowing what's going to happen in the raid, and just generally good vibes. But let's talk about what actually happens in Mochus. 10.1 has been a very long and successful tier for us, meaning that a lot of people have multiple characters that are more than ready come next tier. A lot of people have been playing their mains and preparing a new main, meaning that there will be multiple characters that are amply prepared for normal raid come the next tier. We've also got some fucking gamers, right? There's people who, let's be real. We're like cracked, so everyone's a gamer. Don't get me wrong, but we've got some people that are going to grind the fuck out of the new patch, right? It would not surprise me if at least 10 people ended the first week with like 2200 IO and capped on crests, done the raid on 3 characters. That's just how it is, right? That's how we are. Historically, that's been the case. And finally, it's just we like playing with each other, right? It's the boys. We like playing with each other. We can take that for granted. Personally, come the release of 10.2, I intend on playing a lot of World of Warcraft. Right? It's got some exciting changes for many classes, some of which I play. Doesn't really impact me hugely, but I want to play the fucking new shit. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to be doing the raid more than once, right? If there's an alt run, I'm going to be in on that shit. Absolutely. And I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say that that's probably true for a number of people. Now, here's a little bit of food for thought, right? But before I get into the notion of splits, let's just fundamentally rethink our stance on them. Because there's been, it carries such a reputation, it's such a stigmatized word, but really, if all of the raid loot was buying an account, would you keep it on one character or send it to another character, assuming that the other character would be able to use it, and fucking stack the shit out of your main to be a cranker? I think the choice is obvious. People might disagree, but I think for the most part people want to have their mains very prepared and decked out, and because it's cool. It makes the number bigger, right? I like it when the number's bigger. Now, traditionally, splits are not awesome, right? They've gained a bad reputation because they're, I feel like, a frequently misutilized tool, right? Now, splits would mean mandatory extra raid hours. That's ass, because that's, if we cared that much about being more successful, we'd just add more raid hours every week instead of just the first week, right? Having a mandatory alt is also just not on the list of things that we expect of our raiders, and so it would be remiss of us to pull the rug out from other people who just really enjoy playing one character and don't have an alt up to date. It's not your fault. And it's also just kind of fucking cringe, if we're being honest. Splits are done by the absolute cream of the crop, the best of the best, and then the people that are embarrassing themselves trying to imitate those people, because no, you're not getting fucking world first. Why are you doing splits? It's sweaty. It just doesn't, and honestly, it doesn't even work, right? Because that gear is outdated. If you're doing normal splits, you're replacing that shit in 3 weeks. However, right, max splits are different. Here's how max splits go. They're purely optional, and that sounds contrary to the nature of splits, and I don't blame you for thinking that, but we'll get to it, right? You're kicking it with your fucking boys, so it's cool, right? Because that's just, it's a good time. You get more experience with the raid mechanics if you're doing splits, because you're doing the raid more. you know, it's, and I do think that if you're doing max splits, you are likely running the raid more than you otherwise would have, because splits are just gonna go more smoothly than pugs, and they're gonna go more smoothly than alt runs. At the very least, I believe, you know, that you will be killing the same number of raid bosses per hour, if not, and which I think it is the case, way more, doing splits than just doing main raid and then fucking off to do whatever else. It also contributes a lot more to the power of the raid, right? We're going to get more completed tier sets, and I understand it's been pointed out to me a million times that blah blah blah, tier sets are going to be even easier to finish this year. Like, yeah, but like, we get them sooner, and that is more dopamine. Like, I want to have my shit sooner. It's cool. And there are people who, you know, even if your tier set's kind of ass and you get it pretty late, like, it still sucks to get it late. You still want your tier set, so more tier sets, even if we hit a point where we're satisfied with the number of tier sets we have, we can always get more, right? That's still cool. So here's my plan, right? I am, this whole plan is predicated on having more mains than alts willing to participate, but that the number of alts is like more than half than the number of mains, right? These numbers are I'm just spitballing, these are estimates, but I don't think they're actually that far from the truth. I've looked into it, I've, you know, just from talking to people, seeing things, I think this is not like unrealistic or sugarcoating the idea in any way. So we've got, you know, 12 mains, 8 alts, 20 people in a run. But if only 12 of them are actually there with the intention of getting loot, right? You get 66% more loot on your main. And that's cool, because then your main has more gear. Are you seeing where I'm going with this? Right? It's epic. Here's some valid criticisms. Right? This is their splits. Greatness comes at a cost, right? It disproportionately benefits the people without alts. That is true. It is kind of unfair to the people who are bringing an alt, like you're using your lockout on that character to get, you know, no immediate direct benefit to yourself. But, you know, everyone who's coming on an alt is contributing more and more to the raid. It's I think that once we come to a collective understanding that, like, bringing your alts is lit and people get more gear, I think there will be higher participation than initial estimates have put out. Now, you could also say splits take up too much time, right? I want to run heroic and I want to get AOTC first week. That's not unrealistic to say at this point. We're probably going to be able to do it. And if we're doing splits, either only one half of the mains get AOTC first week, or, you know, no one gets AOTC, or we finish everything because we're gamers. And I think that that's actually not even that unlikely of a scenario. But the concern would be that it would take too much time. We'd run out of time before getting everyone AOTC. And to that I say, if we run normal before heroic twice and get a good idea of the fights, we can kind of play it by ear, and if we get to a wall in the first set of heroic runs, we can stop there, run the second group up to that same boss, and then take all of the mains, recombine into a greater mains-only group, and kill the last few bosses, right? So there is a contingency plan in the event of, like, time not working out. And also, let's fucking be real, bro. It's going to be the first week of the patch. You're going to want to play the game. Like, you know, real life obligation notwithstanding, like, you're going to want to fucking do it. It's cool. And finally, the final criticism of splits is that they kind of suck ass for healers, because you're bringing two characters and you're not going to get a ton of gear on either of them. To that I say, yeah, I don't really know what to do about that, but the more gear is on other people, the more people will be passing on gear that you want. If you think about it, if you really think about it like that. And healers are often the last to get their tier sets. The more people that have tier sets, the more pieces will be available for healers. I can say words. And also, like, what doesn't suck for healers, right? It's not really a real criticism, even though it's filed under the valid criticisms slide. I should have made an invalid criticism slide, because what doesn't suck for healers, right? That's how the game works. How the fucking world works. Now, here's how you can get involved. If I've won you over with the idea of getting more gear for your main, which seems like kind of a no-brainer, fantastic home run out of the park idea, you can fill out this survey. It'll be linked in the description of the YouTube video. And you can also call Adam a bitch, because he doesn't want you to have more gear. He wants you to do everything he says and always listen to him, but never do anything good for yourself because he hates you. Alright, thank you for hearing me out. I am at peace with the idea that this might not work out. That's okay. That's okay. But I think that I'm doing the guild a service just by getting the idea in people's minds, right? And I think it's an experiment worth doing. So thank you, and yeah, hope to see you there.